The World's Greatest Sinner is a film that is touted by some as being one of the worst films ever made, to others calling it a cinematic masterpiece. It was written, produced, directed, and distributed by Timothy Carey, who also stars in it. Although many may not be familiar with his name, most will be familiar with his performances and bit parts. He was one of the few actors Stanley Kubrick would let improvise in his films, such as his entire dialogue in Paths of Glory just prior to the execution of his character, a performance which angered Kirk Douglas for overshadowing the performances of the principals. His portrayal of sniper Nicky Arain in Kubrick's The Killing is also one of the most memorable in that film. Many found him difficult to work with, as he did some very crazy things, such as throwing snakes at people, shooting directors with blanks and not telling them beforehand, or even getting others to try and attack suits and then sicking dogs on them without mentioning his plans. Some thought he was a genius, and others just plain didn't like him. Timothy Carey was tired of Hollywood making pseudo-controversial films and set out to make a film that truly was controversial in every sense of the word. He was basically on his own because no one had the guts to touch the subject matter at the time. He began production in 1958 in his home and the streets around it, often using random people he came across to be in his film. He also hired a young, unknown musician at the time by the name of Frank Zappa to write the soundtrack. Although Zappa reportedly begged to be given the job, he soon after went on The Steve Allen Show and referred to the film as the world's worst movie. Sinner's cinematographer was also an unknown at the time by the name of Ray Dennis Steckler, who later went on to direct films such as Wild Guitar and Cynthia the Devil's Doll. In The World's Greatest Sinner, Tim Carey plays Clarence Hilliard, who's a happy insurance salesman with a seemingly One day, however, he goes through a sort of midlife crisis, very boldly causes himself to get fired from his job, and he has a vision and questions why there should be death and declares that man is the only God and heaven is here on earth. He then goes out to a rockabilly concert, and when he sees the passion of the people in the audience, he develops his plan. Along with his gardener, he forms his own rockabilly band to spread his message. As he gains more followers and power, he forms a political party called the Eternal Man Party, where people will become superhuman beings and also gods. He even starts to don fake iconic facial hair and changes his name to God, as he gains more followers by preying upon the gullibility and hope of others, and he's convinced to run for President of the United States. He gets so swept up in his own web of deceit, seduction, and outright blasphemy that he believes he is God and has the power of God, leading him to directly challenge God Almighty to a final showdown. When watching this film, one needs to look beyond the very low budget, which was around $100,000. The acting, editing, and film quality leave a lot to be desired, but the overall message is still very timely. Many say that The World's Greatest Sinner was far ahead of its time, but as Romeo Carey, Timothy Carey's son, has stated in interviews, the film wasn't ahead of its time, it was the time. This is true. It was very much the time, but it was the elephant in the room that no one talked about. Even though it was completed in 1962 and had a very limited release in 1963, its overall statement is still relevant today. Carey continued editing this film up until his death in 1994. The copy most people see is the 1965 cut that has been floating around the bootleg circuit for many years and was also aired on Turner Classic Movies 2 years ago when Romeo Carey gave permission to air that print. Timothy Carey went on to be in other productions, but never completed any of his other personal features, such as Tweet's Ladies of Pasadena. If you have a chance to view The World's Greatest Sinner, I highly recommend giving it a chance. It's a cult classic, definitely for a reason. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next weekend. Goodbye.
If they believed in what I was doing, they'd try to stop me. That's what makes it so easy for me.